what's the range that I can wander so that I don't go too far, because if the camera's steady in one place and I'm over here, this guy walking in and out, what happened to him? Anyway, first, thank you guys, especially these three guys, for helping arrange all of this. This trip was built around our original Sending Churches Missions Conference, which is in Hawthorne, New Jersey, coming up this weekend. They're celebrating their 90th anniversary as a church.
Oh, wow.
And by the way, they've only had 2 senior pastors in that entire time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It says a lot about the church.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
90 years?
90.
Wow.
they decided that this year, because of the 90th thing, they wanted to do something in the missions conference that looked back at the history and then forward to the future. And Kathy and I were what they call the beginning of the second wave of missions from that church. First wave started before World War II. A number of really great people were out in the field. We benefited from that. Kathy grew up in that church. She brought me into the church as I got to know her. So we benefited from those who had gone before. And evidently we were the beginning of another big wave. And third wave never quite happened, but the missions pastor sent me an email back in August, said, opening line, "Are you coming to the conference this year?" Which is kind of a setup. What do you say to something like that? I can, why? So they're going to have 3 speakers in each of the 3 services. Each one of us gets 10 minutes. My 10 minutes are from the first one until us. The next person has from me until I don't know when, and the next person has what's the future going to look like.
Oh, wow.
So
That's neat.
it should be interesting.
Yeah.
I did write mine out. I timed it at under 6 minutes. So when I actually do it, it will probably be like 7 minutes, which is the shortest they will have ever heard me in that church. I'm going to make sure the missions pastor realizes that I've cut the time off there. But it should be interesting. When he gave me the assignment, I wrote back jokingly, "So you're giving me 10 minutes for 2,000 years of church history?" And he wrote back and said, "No, just 90 years of church history." Which makes it a little bit better, it cuts it by a lot. But that was what we were building this trip around. Then I decided, if I'm going to be there for the weekend, I can come up early and go to one of the churches in Baltimore that's been asking for us for a while, where I was this past weekend. Then we had friends come over from New York State to visit the area, and we met with them. They said, "Since you're going to be there, why don't you come up and visit us on your way home, and we'll gather together some people." And in the middle part, between Baltimore and New Jersey, I was going to go down south and visit Columbia Bible College. I had my co-worker arrange all of that for me while I was over in India. And I get back, and all of a sudden somebody gets in touch with me, an old friend from Bible College that I hadn't seen since 1972, you do the math, saying that, when are we going to be in Hawthorne, because she and her husband are going to come over and see us. And then somehow she mentioned being part of the missions team in their church. To which I wrote back and said, "Well, how about if I come and visit you in your house and you gather your missions team together to hear me?" So that's what I did last night. And then if I'm going to be doing something up in this area, I'm going to come back down here. Even if you weren't going to let me have the time, I was going to come back here just to see everybody. When I found out you had an actual meeting on Wednesdays, very few churches do that anymore. So I was very glad to have this opportunity and work this out. What I'm going to do is just give you an update mainly on my trip to India and, well, mainly India. Ukraine was a pure personal function. But just to bring you up to date on what's been going on, and in the process, up to date again on what I do with an organization called Mandate. If you have questions anywhere along the line, feel free to interrupt me. I don't mind that. Everything I have is on here anyway, so you're not going to throw me off. And we're going to get through it one way or another, even if I have to skip through slides. That doesn't bother me at all either. So feel free to interrupt me, ask questions anywhere along the line. I did stop at a library today where I could use their Wi-Fi, and I updated this from the last time I used it by putting in family pictures. Because I know you're going to ask about what's going on in the family. That's really what you want to see. I'll tell you one thing now. Kathy is retiring as of this coming June.
Oh, wow.
She'll be the proper age for it. So at that point, she'll be able to travel with me. Whether she will like my travel, no, I know she doesn't like the way I travel. Because I travel, I'm going to go here, then I'm going to go here, I'm going to stop here, and I'm not going to stop here. But next time I come, Lord willing, she will be with me.
Great.
And we'll see how that goes. Let's start out with family. This is Kristen and Adam out in San Diego. Kristen is our second daughter with their youngest one. That's Jackson Tucker McLean, JT.
Wow.
He is 4 years old now. And I'm not sure exactly where they are, but it's probably the San Diego State University football stadium, because they have like season tickets. They sort of, they're football people, so that's where they go. In fact, look at Jackson's shirt, SDSU. Yeah. And he's the only one of the kids who really appreciates going out with Dad there. So they do that a lot, but that's what they look like. Here's the other kids. Megan over here on this side is 15 and has just started high school. In San Diego, you can almost choose the high school you want to go to if you can get in. The high school she's going to is a new one which is in the upper rooms of the public library downtown. It's supposed to be a really good school. It's a long drive for them to get there, especially when Kristen has to bring other kids to other places. But she seems to be enjoying it. I'll do some bragging. Her father posted the page that showed some of the scores for her standardized exams in California. In science, she's at the 98th percentile. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Little brat. And overall, she's like 96. Yeah. That is so great. Science is so high. Yeah. All these kids are computer literate, what can I say? Paul on this side, he's kind of a reclusive nerd. Back 20 years ago, he would have been dressed all in black. Chains. Yeah, pretty much. It's still the style. Yeah, his hair is, you can't see his hair there, but it's long. His main occupation is hiding underneath the table, playing Minecraft on the tablet. Oh. But also, he has taken apart a computer and put it back together again, and it worked. With his own money, he bought a computer kit, put it together, and it worked. Wow. His dad has a deal with him that if he takes these online adult computer classes, programming classes, he'll get $5 for each one he finishes. So he does that whenever he needs money. So obviously, when he takes those standardized exams, he's going to have the same thing. This kid knows his stuff. And, how old is he? He is 12. Oh, wow. Jackson at 4 knows the computer, knows the tablet. A few months ago, Kristen took Megan on a trip that she had won to St. Thomas in the Caribbean. And when Jackson came back, Jackson wasn't happy to see his mother or sister. He just wanted that tablet back in his hands. Because Megan's tablet is better than the one he got. It was the final hand-me-down. So that tells you a lot about those kids. Adam is the co-founder of something called the Youth Cartel. Youth Cartel is an organization that resources youth workers. Not youth pastors, because there are a lot more youth workers than pastors. And the youth workers don't get a lot of accolades in the church, but they do an awful lot of the work. Some churches don't have youth pastors. Youth workers do it. So they publish books, they hold seminars, teaching things. This weekend, Adam will be in Seattle doing what they call Open Seattle. They do Open Denver, Open New York, Open Paris, where it's a youth conference, a small youth conference. They bring in some speakers who know what they're talking about because they're doing it, not just big-name speakers. And it's gone over very well. So that's what he does. They have a booming business with that. On the side, he goes around to, not to colleges, he goes around to high schools, speaking about social media and what it can do to teenagers. When we were out there a couple years ago, he just casually looked up from his computer one day to me and he said, "Oh, look at this, I got 250,000 hits on my blog page today." Yeah, what? Wow. Because he had written something about the computer app or the tablet app Snapchat, which essentially was created for pornography purposes. It's theoretically, you can send a picture to somebody else's phone and it will disappear in a certain amount of time. It doesn't disappear, it just changes the name so you can't find it easily. But in a lawsuit between the two founders of Snapchat, they have the old documents that they did stating that this was the purpose of it. It was to be able to send pornographic pictures more easily, and especially for teenagers. So Adam gets invited by school systems all over the country to come out and spend a week talking to all the schools in a certain district as well as the parents in the evening. About 2 years ago, he was invited to by the Archdiocese of New York City. So he was in New York, staying in a convent all by himself and going to all the Catholic schools and then talking to the parents about this is what can happen, know what your kids are doing. So he's developed quite a ministry there, which is quite a necessary ministry as I found out about it. Yeah, no, I appreciate what the guy is doing. He has a lot of insight. No, that's our San Diego family. Oh, Jackson has a new friend. Jackson loves R2-D2. They're about the same size, so that's pretty good. This was in Legoland in California. So if you ever want to see R2-D2, probably all made of Legos, go there.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, Gwen and Eric are in just outside of Memphis, Tennessee. Them you'll both know because Eric was coming to this church too before they went up to college. Now Eric is he works at FedEx, he has for a long time. As I understand it, he is like the 4th tier from the top in terms of management. So he does a very good job, he's a very valued employee there. And if he wants to, he will be there the rest of his life. Not a bad place to be.
My nephew flies the Eastern Rim for FedEx.
Okay.
The one in Alaska I was talking to you about.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Well,
he gets periodically gets down to Memphis because, for whatever reason.
Everything
Newark
goes
is
through
another
Memphis.
hub
Yeah.
that they have.
Well, Memphis is the hub, that's where the big guys are.
Yeah.
Eric's family is from Memphis. So when he started at FedEx, he started there. Then he realized if he was going to get into management, he had to move out of Memphis because management opportunities are based on experience. You're not going to get management experience if you can't get a manager job. You're not going to get a manager job there because everyone wants to be there. So they chose to move up by us to Michigan. And it intended to be for a couple of years. It ended up being 12 years. We always knew that eventually they'd move back. And he finally got a position he liked there and did move back, and he's moved up since then. He is in charge of several of the teams, or several of the lower level managers who are in charge of teams that load the planes. So he's there basically working nights to get the planes loaded and work out things like that. Doing a very good job. They're very happy down there. These are their kids, 4 of them. Jacob graduated from high school this year. In Tennessee, they have this program where if you graduate from a Tennessee high school, you have 2 years free in a community college.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a very good thing. Since I've always advised people, unless you're going to Harvard or something, go to a community college for 2 years. It's cheaper and you get as good an education. Besides, then you get 2 diplomas to hang on your wall eventually. So he's doing that. He's studying computer engineering, which is hardware. And he's only been doing it a couple months. I haven't even asked him since then how he likes it. Allison is 16 and in high school. Her big thing this year was making sure she was dressed properly for the first day of school. Because if you're a high school girl, that's what matters. If you don't hit that first day dressed properly, forget the rest of the year. And she knows things like that. Zachary, with a smile on his face and the mouth closed and bare feet. Oh, they all have bare feet. Zachary is 13, and his biggest thing now is, besides everything else he does at school and church and home, is playing football. He has promised me when he's in the NFL, he will buy me a house. Give him a 50% chance of actually making it. And if he doesn't do that, the NBA, because he's just as good in baseball. But in football, he's been playing since he was like 8 years old. He is very, very good. This year he was bumped up, he moved up because of age into the junior high league, where all of a sudden he's at the bottom of the group. And he was kind of afraid to go in. He didn't want to play football this year. In fact, he hid in the trunk of the car so he wouldn't have to go to that first practice. And I told him, he was afraid people would laugh at him. I said, they're only going to laugh once. Once they run into you or you tackle them, they're never going to laugh again. And sure enough, after the first game, he was just one of them, and now he's a starting player at that level. And that's the way it's going to be all of his life, because he has the bulk for it, and he's also good. He takes after his father in size. Matthew turned 10 years old on Sunday. And Matthew's claim to fame, at least in my book, through the past year, at one point they were all in the car together, and they were talking about superpowers. What superpower do you want? What superpower do you want? And he said, if I could have a superpower, it would be telling people about Jesus.
Oh, wow.
Okay, that's my grandson. Yes, yes, yes.
That is.
They're all heavily involved in church. They go to a large Southern Baptist church. They're all involved. Right now, 3 of the kids are involved in the Christmas program, and they've already started rehearsing for that. So every Sunday, each one of them has a couple hours at church. And through the whole thing, from Sunday school up until the rehearsals and the evening service, they're basically at the church the entire day.
Wow.
For Matthew's birthday, they held his party there in the church grounds because there was no time to go anywhere else. So it's good. They're all following the Lord. In fact, all the kids, with the exception of JT, who is only 4 years old. He has time, although his mother did accept the Lord when she was 3. So I need to remind them of that. And this is us. Yeah, that one's not a selfie. I'm trying to take selfies and learn how to do it properly, but I think I'm too old for that. I spent one day at the beach. We have a nice lake near us, just taking selfies while Kathy was reading. And how do I do it? How far do I hold it and everything else? It wasn't until I got home I realized, oh, I didn't know that girl in the bikini was in back. So some of them got deleted quickly. Kathy hasn't seen the others. But this was not one. This was one taken by some friends of ours at a concert. But that's a good one. That's what we look like these days.
She looks good.
She looks much better than I do.
Yeah, she looks good.
Okay, so that's us. That's our family. This is my Ukrainian family. If you've been following my updates from this past trip, the final week of my trip was pure holiday. I was able to take a trip over to Ukraine and only $70 more for the entire trip. But I couldn't pass it up. Kathy told me I couldn't pass it up. So bless her heart. These are people I've known for a long time since I taught in their town, in their church. Julia has been my translator, interpreter a number of times. Kolya and I are very, very good friends. And I was amazed this time that the two kids are speaking English fluently. You know, when their mother's a translator, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
But last time I saw them, they didn't. Now all of a sudden, they did.
Wow.
In fact, Ilusha over here. How many remember The Man from U.N.C.L.E., the TV series?
Yeah, of
Ilya
course.
Kuryakin?
Yeah.
Well, his name is Ilya.
Oh,
Now, they don't know anything about that TV show, but as soon as they said it, but everybody in Russia, Ukraine has a nickname. Doesn't matter what your real name is, you automatically get a nickname. Ilushka was when he was a baby. Now he's older, it's Ilusha. But Darinka, because she's a girl, she still has a K-A, as in a little child. But anyway, this guy, his father opened the door to their apartment when he brought me home from the airport. And this guy literally jumped out at me. Arms and legs wrapped around me, just holding on to me like a pole. I'm thinking, okay, I guess they really are happy to see me. They call me Grandpa. And when the local pastor came over to talk to me for a half hour or so, because I wouldn't have had a chance to go to his church that time, he asked me a question, and Ilusha starts translating for me. What a precocious little kid. I had just been talking to his mother saying, I wonder if he can translate for me. Well, sure he can, but he jumps right in and everybody starts laughing at him. So I promise next time I come, I will use him for something.
Right.
And Darinka, all of a sudden she's turned into a lady. Very, very wonderful kids, wonderful family. I love them tremendously. That's why I stay with them when I'm there. We Skype all the time. It's nice to know that the love of Christ through people extends across borders. And it's just as if they were family. Let's go for a ride in Delhi, Delhi, India. Just in case you ever worry about traffic here in Pennsylvania, notice the line in the road right underneath the center of the taxi that I'm in. Now you can ask, what are the lines in the road for? They're just suggestions. And this wasn't even a bad thing. Just my first trip to Delhi a couple of years ago, I was always sitting in the front because I wanted to be up to see what was going on. And I decided I'm going to take some movies here and show people what it's really like. But that's what it's really like. I'll show you some more of the traffic in a while, but that was traffic in Delhi. The taxi drivers seem to know what they're doing. They have very few accidents. There's almost a rhythm to the whole thing, which I'm sort of catching onto, but I'm never going to want to drive there. Anyway, here's where I was this trip. Delhi is over here. New Delhi is sort of like a city within the city. We always talk about New Delhi over here. They never talk about New Delhi there. Everything is Delhi. So that's why I talk about it that way. The two places I visited were up here, Kalimpong. You might have seen pictures at various times, maybe National Geographic or something, of the tea plantations in India. This is where many of them are, up in this area, in the foothills that come down from the Himalayas. Then I went up here to the province of Assam, and I'm going to go into more detail there. To get from here to there, though, I had to go all the way back to Delhi, and then come all the way back here.
I see.
When I'm trying to arrange my flight the first time, I got the flight to here, and then I'm looking for a round trip from here to there, and then back to Delhi. They gave me one, but I'm looking at it, it says 20-hour layover. Where? In Delhi.
Wow.
So I found that it was cheaper and easier just to go here, back, and here and back, and spend the night in a decent hotel in Delhi instead of on the airport floor. But it worked. One of the things I liked about here that I didn't realize ahead of time was how close it is to Nepal. We're driving there, and my friend Beam is saying, you know, if we go up that road, we'll get to Nepal. If we go up that road, we'll get to Bhutan. I thought, okay, Beam, I'm going to come back maybe next year. I'm going to spend about a week here. We're going to go to places, aren't we? Yes, Dave, we are. Again, it's nice to hit it off with a person. But this gives you an idea. India is a Hindu nation. If you talk to the government, about 2.5% of the population is Christian. If you talk to the church leaders, they'll say between 6 and 10% is Christian. Governments that lie like that about religious numbers are generally doing it because the numbers are growing, and they don't want to concede that. Right now, the party in power in all of India, political party, is the Hindu party. They're trying to re-Hinduize the country. So they are giving favor to Hindu things and withdrawing favor from non-Hindus. And they're also trying to persuade Christians to come back into Hinduism. From their point of view, Jesus is just another god. We already have several thousand of them. You can worship Jesus and still be part of our Hindu family. I don't think they're having a lot of success, which probably frustrates them, which means they're going to crack down even more. But that's what's happening throughout the country. As you go up to this part where I've never been, you have a lot of Muslim presence because it's right next to Pakistan. If you go up here, the northeast, and these provinces, there are 7 of them, they call themselves the 7 Sisters. I don't know if Christianity is predominant there, but it's much stronger here than it is down here. Also, the people up here, ethnically, they are not Indian. Indians technically are Caucasians like us, even though their skin is darker. People up here are true Asians. They more resemble the Chinese people than anybody else. So there is tension between the two areas. Down south, there's a large Christian presence because tradition, church history tells us that the Apostle Thomas brought Christianity to southern India. And there's a large, strong church there called the Mar Thomas Church, the Apostle Thomas Church. Until this trip, I have never met anybody from Mar Thomas Church. When I finally met somebody, I said, whoa, he looks different than me, but he's not. He's a Christian just like me. One of the fantastic things about meeting Christians from other traditions is the fact that we share more than we don't share. And if we concentrate on what we do share, it's a lot of fun. So now I can say, yeah, I met somebody from there too. So when I see Thomas in heaven, I can say, yeah,